Everybody, and welcome to this first glimpse at the gameplay of Dune Awakening.
So we haven't seen gameplay yet.
I'm really excited to
this came out a
welcome
couple
you
days
into
ago.
our world, but I want to point out a couple of things. First of all, this is a beta. It's beta footage, so you'll see bugs and you'll see things that need polish still. And secondly, our tutorialization is still a work in progress.
They said this game's supposed to come out 2025, early 2025. I don't remember where I saw that at.
With that said, let's get into it. The start of the game, Dune Awakening, begins off-world on this large spaceship.
Show yourself, child.
It is here,
So I
in the
guess there's
presence
some
of the
story
Reverend Mother,
behind it.
the character creation begins.
No,
And the
I
first
saw
thing you
this.
do
I thought the
is
character creation
choose
looked
your
very,
preset
very
avatar.
simple.
Some of these are heavily inspired by the Denis Villeneuve movies. Once you've chosen a base visual look, you can then move into the depths of character creation and make choices about how your character feels, both in terms of
That's
age,
like basic stuff.
but also
Oh, you make him look
plethora
old, dude. Oh
of
my.
physical attributes.
Eye color, normal.
Our goal
normal.
in giving players access to a detailed character creator is to really allow them to create the avatar that lets them fulfill their fantasy
Dude,
of
you got some
living
big
out
eyes.
their dreams on Arrakis.
That doesn't look good. That doesn't look good.
There are a multitude of hairstyles.
There's not that many. That's so minimal, actually. It's not even normal either. Most of those is
And
different.
other things such as tattoos for players to choose from. You can even choose different styles of lipstick and eyeshadow.
Alright, real fast. They said multitude of hairstyles. This is like, it's barely maybe over 20. That's not a lot. That's not a lot of hairstyles.
And other
Is that the total
things
amount?
such as
Is just
tattoos
that
for players to choose
do you have
from.
like separate hairstyles?
You
for,
can
like,
even
different
choose
stuff?
different styles of lipstick and eyeshadow.
Yeah, it's very, very minimalistic. God. Minimalistic. Minimalistic? I don't even know how to say that. Very basic in the customization.
You can choose the muscle tone of your character, from height, arm thickness, leg thickness.
I think Conan Exiles
neck
have
length.
more customization than this. And it's made by the same guys. Same
Once
company.
you finish your character, you choose your name and enter the world. And once you've customized the avatar that you want to play in the game,
Have they told you
well, then we
what
move
I
into the
am?
second phase of character creation.
Then I will sift your words for lies. Let's begin. Where were you born?
The second phase of character creation
A world of
is where
water.
you, as a person who may or may not know anything about Dune, get to make choices about who you were
Alright,
before
so
the game starts.
Basically,
Where you come from,
Bad
what
advice.
caste you
your
belong
Make a
to
bad
in the Dune
heritage.
universe, and of
Be
course,
close to
perhaps
power
most
is to
importantly,
walk the
who your
nice
mentor
path.
was.
your
Who
mentor.
was your mentor?
Your mentor determines your starting set of skills when you enter the game.
You must have been very young.
That
The
seems very
mind must
basic.
be
It's basically picking
prepared
your
or the
class.
Training does not take. The test is almost complete.
Basically, you pick buffs and classes. I'm pretty
Have
sure
you
that's all it
spoken
is.
truth? Come here. Kneel. Put your hand in the box. I hold at your neck the Gonja bar.
This happened in the movie,
a
right?
high-handed enemy. Don't pull away or you
I don't remember. This maybe was in the first movie.
Great plots are afoot in the Imperium, and the currents of intrigue run deeply. Arrakis is the key, and the Fremen are missing. You will go to Arrakis as our agent, prisoner. You have one task. Find the Fremen. Wake the sleeper.
Wake
You
the
will
sleepy.
know when it is done.
I think that's gonna be a boss. Maybe something with a boss. I don't know. I'm only speculating.
Now, we're going to jump ahead a little bit in the story here. skipping past several events just to sort of get into the early new player experience of the game. And you'll see that the player, after various shenanigans, wakes up here in a cave.
No way. Or in a cave, too.
And as we sort of look around the cave, we'll notice that it's filled with Fremen and the remnants of, this ancient culture.
What, just ditch you somewhere random? I know this game's supposed to be big on PvP or something.
So now as the player
well.
takes their first steps in the world, they're really here amongst the dead. And so the first question they should be asking is, what happened
Just like
here?
Conan Exiles?
Who are these people? And, this is just a place where we give players a little bit of time to adjust their settings, get a feel for the movement keys, and then move forward into the cave.
Conan Exiles said, screw you. They
And they'll
drop
stumble
you
upon
right
their
into a
first major
desert
interaction
and
point,
you instantly losing
which is
water.
the Frem Kit.
Hydration.
The Frem Kit in our game serves as both a backpack for the player, of course, but
So
also
inventory system.
really a guide. The Fremen used to pack these with interesting objects that they could use to survive in the desert, and it's no different from
So
the
you
player.
basically picked up your menu.
So here they begin their first crafting experience, crafting a small scrap knife out of metal that was in the Frem Kit. These caves have been moisture sealed in order to preserve the moisture of those within the cave, and so the player, as they explore,
But there's a big hole in
will
the
be able to
ceiling.
use their scrap metal knife to pierce the seals and escape. So really, this entire area, built using Unreal Engine 5, is just to sort of
Is it Unreal
get
5?
the
Very
player
good.
and ease them into the path. A lot of survival games have very abrupt, very harsh beginnings, and we tried to, make the experience of joining Dune Awakening just a little easier. Just give people a little bit of a feel for the world.
They're the ones
before
that
we
talk.
really
They're the
toss them
ones
out
that
into
make
the
you
harshness
literally go
that is the
hydrate,
desert of Arrakis.
unhydrated when you spawn in
So here we've
Conan.
crafted a heal kit, and we're going to use that to heal our character. And
Then
once
you have
we're
to walk
healed,
like literally 20 minutes
see
to get
that our
somewhere you want to
stamina
get
bar
to.
in the bottom left appears. And now that we have stamina, we can
While there's
climb.
enemies everywhere.
The climbing system in Dune Awakening is based in part on the one that we built for Conan Exiles. It's a free-form climbing system. It can be used to climb almost anywhere. And as you'll see later, the new technology available in Dune Awakening, such as suspensor belts, allows us to do even more interesting things with traversal.
Very interesting stuff. But not interesting. I mean, pretty basic stuff, right?
So once we've finished that first little section, we're jumping ahead. We're going straight into the harsh real world of Arrakis. And here are your first steps on Arrakis.
This must have been
Your
easy for them to
ornithopter
make.
crashed,
They already did this
and you've got
before.
to escape from the crash site immediately, because the sandworm always comes.
Oh yeah, he wasn't doing the dance, huh?
And what you have to keep in mind is, these are the little ones. So these are the first sandworms you encounter in the game. There's bigger
You
ones.
said these are
later
the
on.
little ones?
The other thing that you have to pay attention to as a player is sunstroke and heat. So if you see in the top middle of the UI here, we've got this sunstroke bar built
Yeah,
up.
they
The
threw you in
longer
this to screw you,
stay in
basically.
the sunlight, the more chance you have of getting into the sunstroke state. And of course, our player here, not the sharpest knife in the drawer, has decided to stay in the sun and try harvesting water from plants. So he has become sunstroked. Sunstroke gives you a debuff. It means that your water goes down much faster than it
Oh,
normally
that's all?
would. That means
all?
you'll need to drink
I
more
thought it'd make you
often.
stamina
So
weaker.
stick to the shadows,
Then he just took fall
avoid the
damage.
sun.
So just
It
confirm
will
fall
eventually
damage.
wear off if you stay in shade long enough.
0.5
So now that we've made our way out of the first part of the
Granite.
desert and we're heading deeper in, we're going to start to harvest in the game world. So harvesting in a lot of these survival games is quite similar. In this case, we're picking up items, but we're about to pull out what's known as the cut array. And what we do with the cut array is we analyze structures to find their weak
Ah,
points.
that is
And
different
then we cut
actually.
along those lines to break open the structures and
What if you
gain
miss?
the resources.
Do you
inside.
damage scrap?
This is like mining. We apply it both to rocks, we apply it to metals in the game world. And at the start of the game as a player, you'll just be scrounging around, picking up, finding structural weak points in rocks that you can harvest, breaking them apart, and taking those pieces with you. Now
That
we
is
jumped
weird
ahead a
though.
little bit.
You hit that one
We
piece
see
and
that
the
the
whole thing
player is
blew up.
starting to be affected by the spice in the air. And this means that players need to get somewhere safe, in shelter, before the spice overwhelms them.
I
and
know this
overwhelms
whole
their senses.
plan's like
And this is
spice
another
everywhere.
large part of the game. We're not going to show too much of it today, but spice is a very important part.
Obviously, that's the whole point. That's the most
With
important
the
thing of the
world
show.
broken
I mean, not
apart
show,
by the
movie.
War
I
of
mean, sorry.
Assassins, there are NPC bases scattered all over Arrakis. We're switching to a different character now. One who's
Alright,
slightly
this
more
is what I want
advanced,
to see,
and
the
he's using
combat.
his
Combat's the
binoculars
most
to
important
mark
thing of this
an
game.
NPC outpost. I'm going to mark that. That marker will then appear on our compass. And
I was
we're
about
able
to say,
approach them
this
in any
jumped
way you like.
up.
In this case, our character uses a Shigawire claw combined with a suspensor belt to get up to high ground.
So what if you didn't have
and approach
to
the enemy
thing
base
that
from above. Kind of one of the interesting
what,
things about Dune Awakening
you
is
just
just
take
how
fall
you
damage?
can combine the different abilities. And this is how traversal really plays into the game. Like, you end up being able to attack these bases from any angle that you'd like. Now, our player is going to craft the first gun in the game, known as a Mauler pistol, which translates to, the basic kind of weapon in the game. As you may know, in Dune, bullets are not the preferred type of ammunition. Instead, it's darts, which are fired at a slower rate in order to try and attempt to pierce shields. Now, this early in the game, enemies don't really have shields, so the player is going to sneak into the base from above and use a combination of their early abilities. In this case, dropping out a grenade, then sneaking around the corner, and beginning to get into NPCs' head.
Dude, he has bullet sponge out. Do you see that?
Now,
hold on.
to NPCs' head.
How many times did you shoot
around
him?
the corner,
We're gonna count this.
and beginning to get into NPCs'
About
head
6 times. 6, 7 times. That's
Now,
bullet spongy,
troopers
dude.
are the basic shock troops
That's too much.
of the universe, and their ability trees reflect that.
You said you don't have
Grenades,
shields.
Shigawire claws for moving around, and of course, they're able to take down people with headshots. You can see how suspensor belts
The dude flew.
really allow you to.
That's like 9 bullets, dude. They're too spongy, in my opinion.
Dune Awakening is at heart a third-person shooter with melee and abilities. And it's the combination of melee, abilities, and range shooting that creates what we call combined arms in the game.
So, main thing in the game is shooting.
Now, we've taken a fair bit of damage in this battle, so we're going to stop for
But in
a
the
second
trailer,
to
they
heal
show
ourselves up with a
they
bandage.
show the melee
Bandages
sword master,
heal over
which means
time,
there's a melee class.
So you can't just heal yourself to 100%. You have to actually get into safety, get behind cover before you start using them. Now we're going to quickly switch to a slightly different character
I don't know how that
to
will
show
be balanced.
off
I'm
more
gonna
of
be
the
honest.
melee that we have in the game. Because you're about to see that when a character gets in close, it's melee time.
All right,
This character has sword
This
master
is-
ability.
this is my biggest critique of the game so far was the melee. The melee and what they showed in that trailer was so awful. He just needs that dude in the face and he just died. No impact sound, no nothing. He just died.
First of all, the knee charge, which is about getting in close to do damage.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Look at
And then quickly setting up to a riposte
knocks him down.
allows
No,
you to
no
parry.
effort.
and
well,
return
I didn't see that,
quickly
hold
setting up to a riposte, which allows you to parry and return
Okay,
massive
that looked
amounts of
kinda
damage
fine.
to your
How
enemy.
about the basic fighting?
Of course, later in the game, when enemies have shields, melee is a much more emphasized
That
style of
delay
combat.
was horrible, dude.
And you see
that was a half
when
second
player's
delay.
not really equipped to handle range characters, they have to fall back on their abilities to get in close. Now, we've switched again. Now we're going to switch to a set of Mentat abilities.
Well,
One of
that
these
did more
abilities
damage
is
than the other
known
one did.
as Battlefield Calculation. Using Battlefield Calculation, the
You basically
Mentat
see
is
what's
able
around,
to calculate from anybody that they see what they're carrying and what they're wearing. Now we've dropped out our Hunter Seeker, and we're using our Hunter Seeker ability to take down enemies in the world really quickly.
Alright, so drone strike.
Now obviously when
I
you're playing
think the
with a
enemies
friend,
need less help than what
you
they
want to
have.
combine your abilities and work together. In this case, the Mentat's able to point out to their friend where people are in the world and how much ammo and stuff they have.
That explosion is kind
And you'll
of
see that when enemies go down sometimes, they go into a down but not out state. It's up to you whether you execute them or continue to fight.
I know you're supposed to be able to recruit NPCs. Can you recruit enemies to join you?
After a quick reload, it's back into the battle, with our friend coming from above and throwing out one more grenade.
Alright. Looks kind of good so far. It
Once
is in
you've
beta,
defeated
they
your
said.
enemies in battle, sometimes you just got to take their blood. In order to get water, the player's going to have to craft themselves this blood sack and this blood extractor and use it to harvest blood from their fallen
You
enemies.
get pretty easy, looks like. Salvage metal,
Now,
money. I don't know how much
in
that
our
is,
game,
but it looks
it's
like
not
it'd be
always a
pretty easy.
good thing to just take blood from people.
Why?
It's potentially bad and can only be used for certain things. Once you've extracted the blood, you can then of course drink it. As you'll see here, the player takes a big sip from their blood bag. But when they do that, it causes a debuff because the blood is not exactly pure, and drinking blood for water is not exactly a 1-to-1 scenario. So you'll see that our health bar got shorter while our water bar went up.
Oh.
And so being a blood drinker is not always looked upon in the right way.
That's interesting.
Of course, once you've played the game for a little while,
Play bases, yeah.
you'll
This was
start wanting
wondering
to build your own
about
base.
also.
And the first part of that is placing down what we call a sub-fief console.
It's supposed to be PvP, right? But there's also
sub-fief
next to some
console
bases.
allows you to claim a small part of Arrakis as your own.
Maybe it's
But it
PvP
does
zones.
in turn mean that you'll start to owe taxes to the Emperor.
You have to owe taxes.
Here we are with our building system, and you can see that
All right, one thing. There was PAX Day, and PAX Day's building system was completely god awful because you can't do anything by yourself. Basically, you build yourself a tiny hut and then in 6 hours. But in this, it looks like you can do solo stuff. Thankfully,
we have two types of building here. We have the holograms, which show in the beginning. I call them Solido projections internally. And we have the way that you fill in, which is by holding down the mouse button in this case. So the cool thing about this is it allows us to have this cooperative building system. So you'll see that one player places out
that's nice. Yeah,
the Solido projections, and the other player fills them in with the materials from their inventory. This is just a way that lets people play together and build together in an interesting and exciting way. We've seen through our experience with Dune Exiles that some people just love to build in these games. So we've created a system called the Blueprint Building System that allows players to save a copy of their base as one of these giant holographics.
You mean what every other survival game has nowadays?
And place them out wherever they like, and then rebuild. And we have another system in the game which allows you to take these, big architectural designs of your buildings and sell them to other players on the exchange.
They said sell them.
Once again,
what?
This is a way
real
to
money or
in
in-game
around the world. If you've got a design you like, you don't have to, throw it out immediately. And it allows you to create these interesting masterpieces. It also, as you can see here, allows you to, if you're not artistically minded and you don't like building big bases, you can buy them from other players.
When this game comes out, we will be playing this too.
Once you finish crafting a base, you want to fill it with all kinds of machines, fabricators, and refineries. And of course, harkening back
we saw this
to the blood extraction we just did, we've got the blood purifier. So what we want to do is take the blood from our blood sack and deposit it into the blood purifier, and over time it will refine into lovely fresh water, which can then extract into our liter-johns and carry with us out into the desert.
That takes a while. You speeding that up.
There's many varieties of fabricators that you can use to craft things in the game. One of the most exciting things is crafting yourself a vehicle. So we're opening the technology menu, and from here we're able to purchase the design for a sandbike. A sandbike is one of the early vehicles available to players in the game, and you can kit it out with different types of modules, including an extra seat, which allows you to bring your friends with you.
Can you custom build these? So can you sit there and let's say I want 2 chases on my bike. Can I do that and make it a double bike?
So in this menu, you can see we're fabricating
those bikes with the little seat on the side of it.
And all the different parts of the sandbike have to be fabricated individually.
The passenger.
So the player is doing the menu here. They're crafting different things which will make up their sandbike. And as you can see, it prints out in this kind of 3D printer type way, where all the materials are turned into these particles, which then come together to form the different pieces of the sandbike. And you can see it's sort of all happening in the background here. And if we go out into the world view, you can actually see the pieces forming up inside the fabricator.
Cool detail.
So a base with lots of these fabricators going is actually pretty cool and pretty busy. Once we've done, we jump back in, we pull things out of the queue, chuck them into our inventory, and then we use the welding tool to place out vehicle pieces. Now again, this is a cooperative activity. We've thought about multiplayer, so any other player could be working with you to place modules and pieces of this bike. And so We're going to assemble this
Does it have
bike.
to be placed in certain spots?
But of course, when you work on larger vehicles, and your friends are with you, you'll be able to work together to craft big things like transport ornithopters or sand crawlers.
Ah,
And
that's
so
interesting.
we're going to add the body to this, and we're going to add an extra seat just in case we want to bring our friend with us out into the world.
Oh, that's not what I was
Once the
talking about
bike's
ecstasy.
assembled
I was
and
talking about like a
fueled
whole
up,
different
you
cabin.
jump on,
basically.
and you can head out to explore the greater areas of Arrakis.
Vehicles seem pretty good. They also leave trails behind, which is cool.
Heading out into the world to explore
Oh,
can
look
be
at
a
that.
dangerous experience. And as you explore the universe,
Dude, that's cool.
you'll
Can you
find
like see that when
certain
you like
dynamic events will
explore?
occur.
Yeah, look at that.
In this case, the War of Assassins has claimed a new victim, a ship which falls from the sky,
That's pretty
spilling
cool.
its loot all over the sand. So we head out there to see what we can get, to harvest and gather as much as we can.
If you went
Of
next
course,
to that,
the
you get
problem
all of
is
it.
This is extremely visible to everybody in the nearby area. So people will be able to see this. And so in a PvP area, you might suddenly find yourself
Okay.
coming into
He's just confirmed what I was thinking of. So it's PvP areas and PvE areas. He literally just said PvP area.
competition with other players. In a PvE area, you might just find other people competing with you to get to the loot first.
Alright, so PvP areas, you fight each other for the loot. PvE areas, whoever gets there first gets it.
And of course, at night time,
Yeah, I thought they were going to do it
there
like
are
that.
different
But I
kinds
just
of
wanted to make
threats.
sure.
because while the heat of the day is dangerous, at night, the Sardaukar patrol this area of the desert with huge spotlights, searching for players.
Interesting.
Now this player is over here, harvesting dew with a dew reaper, sucking the water.
So they send out
surface of
enemies
these
at you?
plants, and they've been captured and seen by the Sardaukar.
Oh, you get captured?
And
Oh, look
the
at that.
Sardaukar send down troops who come floating down out of the sky to attack and destroy the players.
And they're more tanky than anyone else too, yeah. Sounds bad.
Now, of course, as mentioned, traveling on the surface at any time risks drawing a sandworm. But there are certain things which we've created to draw players out of their comfort zones. So in this case, there's a special type of sand here on the surface, known as flower sand. Flower sand, according to the books, is the softest kind of sand.
Oh,
And players can use it to refine it into a variety
I
of
know
different
about the
materials
books,
that they
so-
need for crafting. So
I'm
you
not
want to come
a
out
bug
into
either.
the desert and you want to try and find flower sand. But
You sell
you
this?
have to be wary and pay attention, because as you harvest, you risk drawing the attention of
Of
the
a what?
sandworm.
Yeah, I thought so. Wait, will music start playing before it happens? Then you know you have to get out of there?
We've awoken the beast. The
Oh, look at
sandworm
that.
is
You
coming.
saw that?
We spent too much time out here, and it's coming to get us. Now you can see in the middle of the screen the indicator showing us that the sandworm is angry.
So what happens when
And
you
it's
get
coming
eaten by
after
one?
us. And
Does it
our
show
only
you?
option now is to get back to rocky ground, or the sandworm's going to take us. I
just
don't know
creeped
how
them
those
out.
guys survived that, but somehow they managed to get to the
Dude,
safety
look at that
of the
thing.
rock island.
That's pretty good. Like a hub. Social
Once
areas.
you've crafted your first ornithopter, you'll be able to take to the air, and your entire perspective of the world shifts. From here, it'll make traversing the world a lot safer because you can avoid the sandworms. It'll also help you to go out into the larger world of Arrakis.
So you can
Here
explore
we are
outside.
in the overland.
Oh, look at
We're going
that.
to make our way south until we find the place known as Harko Village.
Wait. Is this how they're doing it? Oh, I'm positive. I'm
Harko
positive.
Village
I want to see what
is the
it's doing.
current seat of the Harkonnen, after their city, Carthag, was destroyed in a nuclear explosion during the War of Assassins. There's more details like that in the lore of the game for players to discover and explore. So we're going to land at Harko, and we're
So you
going
hold
to
down,
explore
I'm
the social
guessing, and
space.
you could go one direction. Get a little animation.
Once you arrive in Harko
Okay.
Village, you'll be
So
able
it looks like there's different instances, like different maps, and inside those different maps, you go to each one of these. I mean, it
You
looks
can
pretty
meet
good
up
so far.
with
The
other
game looks pretty good.
players, interact with them, trade, and create guilds. The game has a variety
There's some stuff I question,
social
like the
interaction
melee
mechanics,
combat,
from
but
emotes
everything else
to
looks pretty
grouping.
good.
to a chat. Throughout Harko Village, you'll also interact with story characters, follow the main story, You'll be able to meet vendors who will sell you exotic items.
They let you live.
When he's walking around, it kind of has a Hogwarts
That is
Legacy feel.
interesting.
You'll be
From my-
able to
from
get
what I
a
can
feel
see
for how the
anyways.
factions are viewed in the world, and of course, you'll be able to swear allegiance to one of the major factions, the Harkonnen or the Atreides. Swear your guild's allegiance.
Oh yeah. So in the
and begin to
trailer, they
take
showed
part
in the menu they
politics
showed
of the Imperium.
0, on each one on the faction thing. So I kind of guess
Once you've grouped up with
you join a
friends,
faction.
you should go out into the world and find desert Imperial testing
I mean, I
stations.
dissected the crap out of that.
These are
trailer.
dungeon-like experiences, which you and your friends can work through together.
So there's dungeons in the
So
game here. That's
here we
fun.
are landing our various ornithopters outside of one of the desert testing stations, and we're going to head in as a group. Now, it's really important to prepare different skills and abilities. These
talking on
areas
these
tend
a
to be
lot.
more of a challenge, and it's great to work together to complement each other. So this is the skill tree. Here you can equip different types of abilities and techniques. We have 3 slots for abilities and 3
pretty
slots
basic.
for techniques. And there are multiple different trees depending on the type of trainers that you've interacted with in the world. So our character here is going to equip a series of abilities that complements the rest of their group. In this case, Swordmaster techniques. Alright, so we're heading in, and of course you can use dispenser belts to traverse, as you'd expect. And we're going to explore this Imperial testing lab.
You've entered Desert Botanical Testing Station number 163. I'm Dr. Wen Omeka, Senior Plant Geneticist here at the station.
The game looks pretty. It looks like it'd be fun
Testing
to
stations
try
have
out at least.
storylines,
Maybe put
as
a few
well
days in it.
as enemies to fight and loot to be found.
But those data are
So you
really,
really want to go in
spongy.
here and enjoy the experience. Playing through with friends, working together, using different weapons and trying out different techniques. Now this player has placed out a portable cover. It's a different ability to what we've seen before. And you see that the enemies here have shields. Using the flamethrower, it's easy to get through a shield because you can burn the air around them. And of course our characters
After
are a
this
little higher
video, I'll
level
go
than they
over
were
my
in the start of
impressions
this video.
of what I see
So
so
you're
far.
able to see that, yeah, we can take people down a little more easily. And of course, when you get to the end of these areas, you find these really cool loot chests. And in these loot chests, you find specialized components that are used for crafting exotic weapons and items.
Oh,
The end
Exotic.
game of Dune
That's good
Awakening
stuff, right?
takes place in the deep desert. Giant spice blows will happen, drawing players from all around to try and harvest the spice as quickly as possible.
that's why I saw the
You want to get
PvP
there
thing.
first, and you want to try and take as much spice as you can before an enemy guild shows up to try and take it away from you.
I think it's like guild events or something, right?
Now, of course, if you're clever and you start to lose the battle, you might place out a thumper, and that limits the time in which people are able to take spice.
Now,
because
will the thumper be used for? Are those things easy to scrap to get, or they're expensive?
then the big worm.
So I feel like they're cheap.
It's gonna
Anyways,
show up.
get one. That thing's giant though.
I hope you've enjoyed this brief glimpse at the gameplay of Dune Awakening, and we're really excited to have you join us
So
when the game
yeah,
releases
come to PC early. Oh, it's
of
bad.
Dune Awakening. And we're
Yeah, come to PC early 2025. Then PlayStation and Xbox probably in late 2025. If we're gonna be honest. Gameplay looks pretty good. The only things I see problematic so far is the sponginess of the enemies. They are really spongy. Let's be honest. They shot him 9 times, no shield, and he still walked off. Well, it took 9 times to get him killed, anyways. Then melee combat, it looks really iffy. It looks real bad. Like, I'd be pissed to have melee combat like that in the game. Like that, like cartoony in a way.